Previously on Did I Get What I Paid For?
Oh, yeah, by the way, remember those schematics future me accidentally left behind?
Yeah?
Well, Ralph and I took a look at them. He got in touch with my Donatello action figure. Turns out they were completed versions of stuff he was already working on. Since we sped up his research by about 5 years, he decided to make two of the Who's-Magigs and give you one.
Right, but why do we need to crack time travel?
Because if we don't, then I can never go back in time and correct the mistake I made in planned Ninth Matter Space. Which I did. So we're gonna, because we already have. We're doing the quintessential holiday film. It's a Wonderful Life.
Die Hard?
I've always liked Love Actually.
Who are you?
Xilogaphia, six-dimensional winter elf in training. I'm supposed to make sure that you don't make any Star Trek jokes in the next 3 episodes.
Look. I see what's in it for you, but what about me? What do I get?
For each episode you can accomplish this, you get one wish. But if you fail, even once, I will make you watch the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. What are you doing next episode?
Mystery Alaska.
You are so screwed.
You're going to look stupid. No, it'll be great.
What are you doing?
Elementary, my dear Nick. Our movie is Mystery Alaska, so I figured I'd get into the spirit of things by dressing up like a detective.
It isn't a crime thriller.
I tried to tell them.
It's not? Because with a title like Mystery Alaska, I assumed it was a movie about a bunch of prepubescent kids who solve petty crimes with their friend Gerard the Singing Moose.
I know, right?
It's about ice hockey dudes.
What? Now I feel ridiculous.
This'll fix that.
Ah, that's better. How'd you do that anyway?
Elf magic.
One question. I thought you hated sports movies. No, there are plenty of good sports movies. There's, Caddyshack, and, Cannonball Run, and, what's the other one?
The Big Lebowski?
Yeah, that's it. That's all the good sports movies. So, verdict time.
Are you aware of International Internet Reviewers Guild Charter Article 3, subsection 1-459?
Is that the one that says making someone review Warriors of Virtue is cruel and unusual punishment?
No, I covered guild rules and observer training. Article 3, subsection 1-459 says that unless a critic has established it as a running gag prior to applying for guild membership, they shall not issue judgment on the media before viewing it.
Then I guess I'm gonna have to watch it then. Our story begins with that 12-mile hike in the snow that everyone's grandpa used to take to school. It leads into Russell Crowe's name as we head to the Fortress of Solitude. Oh wait, that's just the credits. He skates down this path while holding a hockey stick while the actors' names go by, including one I'm gonna pretend I didn't see to make a gag work later. We get a bunch of shots as the whole town does something related to hockey. What is this? Friday Night Lights? On ice? Russell Crowe is trying to get to work, but his car won't start. His kid swears, and he does typical dad stuff. He's a family man in a sports comedy, so he's a cop. Because of course he is. Meanwhile, out in the shed, Steve Smith and his friends are literally playing hot potato before the hockey game. Like any locker room, there's bullshitting. One guy claims he just did a photo shoot for an upcoming issue of Sports Illustrated. Another guy is bragging about a recent sexual conquest, only he seems a bit ashamed of having hooked up with a chubby, geeky soccer mom. Maximus comes in and scolds them for their recent hijinks, but he puts on his gear to go to the game. Play begins. We get a good shot of the crowd, and holy shit, is that...
Chief O'Brien?
I was gonna say the pilot from Die Hard 2, but...
You've seen Die Hard 2?
No. Not in this timeline, anyway.
What?
Long story. Lieutenant Malloy's team starts losing.
Daredevil?
No. Lieutenant Malloy is the character on the Orville.
Mayor Seamus the Leprechaun says we've got to do something. This nice young couple starts getting cozy, and her grandpa dad chastises her for it. Women come in with the latest issue of Sports Illustrated. They take it to Mayor Totally Not an Irish Guy. He's pleased. He reads the article aloud, and we get the secret origin of how Mystery Alaska became the Shangri-La of hockey. Cut to Wilma Corky reading the same article. Inspector Javert is not too pleased with the article's description of him. The rest of the team thinks the comparison between them and any team in the NHL is perfectly apt. Cut ahead to dinner at Burt Reynolds' house. Mom and that teenage girl are discussing the article. The girl says that the guy who wrote the article left town because he was gay. Papa Bandit says we don't talk religion at the dinner table, and in mystery, hockey is a religion. Not only that, the sports writer isn't the only one with questionable sexuality. He mocks his own son for being a figure skater. To paraphrase Linkara, early 2000s, casual homophobia. Hey, if you wanted me to get him to sing it, you probably should have put more money into patreon.com/ParodiEraFilms. In a shocking move for a sports movie, the family calls him out on his shit without even saying a word. And he has the sense to leave the table. Which means he's better than your drunken uncle at Thanksgiving. They go on talking like nothing ever happened. Cut to a couple doing the deed in a trailer. But even that scene isn't devoid of hockey. Some people put on music when they're frisky, others have pillow talk, they put on ESPN. The next day, Skank Martin, hockey player and first grade teacher, has his class read the Sports Illustrated article, Naughty Bits and All, out loud in class. The parents are too busy trying to get mouse pulled from the middle school library to object. Then one of the kids says that Beebe is out and Weeks is going up. Martin is shocked, and not about the mouse thing. Me, I'm kinda confused. We're only 15 minutes into this movie and they've introduced about 100 characters, none of which are really distinguishable. The mayor calls Jim Braddock into his office for some reason. Oh wait, I get it now. Russell Crowe is Beebe. The rumor that he's off the team are true. They want to give the teenage boy who got yelled at for kissing his girlfriend at the game a chance to play. Yeah, he doesn't have experience, but he's fast. Plus, if he gets hurt, his girlfriend will break up with him, and that will make the judge happy. Robin Hood says he can still play. He's been in every one of their cultish Saturday afternoon games for the last 13 years. He's the Cal Ripken Jr. of City Park's ice hockey. But he solemnly walks away. Mayor Lucky Charms says he's not happy about it either, it's just the way it has to be. Beebe goes back to the police station. He looks sort of mopey. Everyone has the sense to stay the f out of his way. Well, apart from Detective Disher. But what do you expect from a guy who's used to taking a nap at work and letting Adrian Monk solve all his cases? Beebe tries to tell his wife that he's fine. They both knew this would happen someday. She doesn't believe him. He heads back to the hockey shed to empty out all his stuff like he'd just gotten fired from 2 decades in the file room, without so much as a goodbye cake. Skank goes to talk to his girlfriend to get some clarification on the whole teen issue that had him so shocked. It turns out he's banging the mayor's wife. Lucky for him, the mayor seems unaware of it.
It reminds me of that time he didn't know he was a robot. What kind of idiot wouldn't know they were a computer simulation of a person?
Okay, Beebe might not have gotten a cake, but the new guy does. John Nash and his son show up to the party and things get awkward. He gives him some advice, sort of like when Steve Rogers passed his shield to Falcon in the epilogue of Avengers Endgame. And then he walks off after getting called to the scene of a shooting. Wait, did he leave his son with his hockey friends? 'Cause otherwise, that'd be even more awkward. It turns out the shooter is the local grocer. The guy he shot was a real estate scout for Walmart, so can you really blame him? The lead singer for Spinal Tap is complaining about the quality of his medical care and everything about the town. Beebe takes it down. He doesn't like it, but it's his job. The shooter says it was an accident. Beebe says, shut up and don't say anything until you talk to a lawyer. The clerk says, can I at least tell you how sorry I am about the hockey thing? Beebe tells him, no, shut the fuck up. Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century has already canvassed the witnesses. He's figured out a solution to this Rube Goldbergian mess. Kiddo tried to shoot a dog food bag to scare the guy. He missed. It hit a wheelbarrow. It ricocheted, and now Lenny might lose a toe. Later, a helicopter comes down. It's the Sports Illustrated guy. Dr. Nick says, hello everybody! Remember when I used to bang that guy's wife? Russell Crowe asks, is that all you came here to say? Dr. Nick says, no. The New York Rangers read my column, and they want to play you guys. A few minutes later, they go to the mayor's office to discuss things with him. Jarrell says, you've got to be shitting me. Blue Rasha says, no. The NHL gets good publicity. ESPN gets good ratings. You get a cut for the town trust, and I get a $40 million TV contract. It's good for everyone. So they head to the local pub to have a town hall meeting to discuss the effects this game could have on the local economy. Only Marge Simpson complains. But the town turns to Beebe, who says if we make the Rangers play by our rules, we can win this. The reporter says there's no way the Rangers would agree to that, but he offers a compromise. Beebe says we can still kick their ass. Burt Reynolds says this town is built on its dignity and illusions. Let's stick to that. Lieutenant Malloy says where's the dignity in not trying? I say we play. The discussion turns back to the local economy. The whole town sings a song about a monorail, and all of a sudden we've got ourselves a hockey game. Beebe goes down to the lake to see if he can play. The mayor says, nope, even better, we need a coach. Russell Crowe says, I'm a player, not a leader. I'm not your guy. Beeb's wife tries to assure him that some of the best coaches started out as players. Going from Luke Skywalker to Obi-Wan Kenobi is a natural character arc. The mayor says, don't worry about that. You're gonna coach, you're gonna suck at it. Right when you almost get the hang of it, something is going to happen to make you a player again. The judge will have to start coaching even though he doesn't want to. So I'm going to let you have a little time to think about it, because we both know how this is going to go down. A teen couple is driving a snowplow through a field down by the lake. It's an obvious metaphor for how Marlowe wants to celebrate Weeks making the team. He resists because of teenage melodrama. He gives in but fails to perform, and they only had that one condom. He's not the only one striking out. Skank goes to visit that chubby woman he bragged about banging earlier. She hits him on the head with a shovel. She does offer him the chance to press charges, though. Meanwhile, comic book guy is hitting on Beeb's wife. But since this is a sports movie, genre rules indicate there's only one adulterous subplot allowed per movie. In the courthouse, Shooter McGee tries to weasel his way out of the charges. It doesn't go well for him. The trial will start on Tuesday. Our young ice farmer says, hey, I can't go to prison before the game. His lawyer says, you're a white hockey player who happens to be their best scorer. You could have gone for the headshot and no jury in the county would convict you. Jarrell tries to teach the team 5-man hockey. When that doesn't work, he tries lecturing them on not repeating locker room talk. That's how you become the Republican nominee for president, not an NHL player. Plus, it's why Skank got hurt. They find the rat and make him skate around the lake in his underwear. In the courtroom, Chuck McGill says, I only came to talk to grocery guy. He said, get off the property or I'll shoot you. Then he was surprised when that's what happened. The small town lawyer says that outside influences like Walmart and the New York Rangers have become a toxic influence on the town. The judge says he doesn't want to hear about Walmart or the hockey game in his courtroom. And I have to say, not being allowed to mention Walmart in a case where the entire motivation is the potential existence of a Walmart is a bit like, I don't know, not being allowed to call the corpseified people victims in a murder trial. But whatever. Hyper Chicken brings up the ricochet defense. Mr. Green asks, and that makes it okay? Wannabe Perry Mason says, of course it does. You don't even like this town and what it stands for. Michael McKeon says he loves the town. Ben Matlock disputes this by reading back McKeon's not so advertiser friendly statement to the police in court. On TV, the game is tentatively scheduled. The Rangers aren't too happy about it. They only get a few days off during the season and they don't want to waste it in Lone Moose, especially for a game they have no chance of losing. Russell Crowe tells the team that the townspeople know Mystery can win, but the Rangers don't. Besides, if the Rangers don't show up, Mystery wins by default. The Rangers are cowards. In lieu of a montage, we get a bit from the next Saturday game, with splices of Hank Azaria trying to score on Beeb's wife. The 25-year-old teenager gets hit hard, but Marla is there, so as soon as he can stand up again, he's back to playing. Noah turns around and sees Hank and, whoa, jealous much? After the game, Weeks goes to get a concussion test. The entire team is there in spite of the HIPAA problem that could cause. In an adult state, he admits that he couldn't get it up. Having your teammate find out that you felt up his sister is a great way to get yourself hit. Or, so I'm told. I was never the athletic type, and with theater geeks, the female is usually the initiator. Meanwhile, Marla is crying. Her mom wants to know why. Marla brings up the whole snowplow thing. Her mom gets really confused. Dad walks in and says, "Hey, what's going on?" Mom says, "Please, now's not the time for that, honey." At the courthouse, the jury comes back. It's not guilty on all counts. Plus, they penalize Walmart for an insane amount of money. The judge rolls his eyes and says it's not that kind of a trial. He's pissed off about their verdict, and because of their small error, legally he could overturn it. But he doesn't. Their golden calf of a hockey game can have its star player. While waiting for everyone else to leave the courtroom, Scott Grimes has an epiphany. He goes to Judge Dad's chambers and says, "I'm the reason this game embarrasses you, aren't I?" The judge says, "I'm not saying that. But I'm not saying that." Steve Smith says, "Well, I don't want to get a degree like you. I want to play hockey. When you were a kid, you were the only one in town who sucked at it. But that's not my fault. Besides, you're good at other things, and you have nothing to be ashamed of." In town, the ESPN executives arrive. Mayor Martin the Goat plays nice while the rest of the town practices for the game. They have a meeting. The network says we focus group the whole event. Since the mystery team doesn't have a name, we've decided to call you the Mystery Eskimos. Russell Crowe says, are you sure that's a good idea? Didn't Washington, D.C. just solve that problem with their football team? The argument continues out to the parking lot. The judge laughs at them. Beebe asks if he would be willing to take over coaching because he's tried and he sucks at it. The judge says, "Nah, you got this." Hank Azaria has a surprise for them. A Zamboni. The town mocks him because it looks like a Model T. He says, "Yeah, but it works. How many working Zambonis did you have before now?" "That's right, none. Now shut the f up." Donna complains that by playing with lights and borders, they're giving an advantage to the Rangers. He complains that ever since Chief Wickham came back to town, she's been happy and they can't have that. No siree. Meanwhile, their son is blowing off steam caused by seeing his parents argue about a hockey game by playing hockey with his dog Hockey, who fetches hockey pucks. Meanwhile, the team is watching the Rangers game on TV. They wonder why there's so much fighting and not a lot of hockey at a professional hockey game. Well, everyone but our 2-minute wonder is thinking this. He and Marla sneak off to try to give it another go. It's implied later that it doesn't go much better than their first attempt. Later, Crow tries to teach them to play like the New York Rangers. It doesn't quite work out. It takes him a long time to convince them to beat the shit out of him. Maybe he should have tried making them watch the 2017 version of The Mummy. The mayor and his wife are getting ready for bed and talking about the game. The mayor finds Skank's medallion on the floor and the movie undoes its biggest miracle. No, not making an entertaining sports movie. Something far less noticeable. Up until this point, Colm Meaney, the most Dublin of Dublin actors the world has ever known, didn't sound like an Irishman. But the moment his character was supposed to be pissed off, his accent slipped just enough that you realize he'd been doing a Boston accent for a character who was supposed to be born and raised in Alaska. Anyway, he winds up sleeping in the living room. The next day, he gets up to oversee construction on the park. Charlie comes up and says, "I'm sorry, but the Rangers are out." The mayor says, "We still get the money, right? I spent a fortune building this place." Charlie says, "No. Section 22-B of your contract clearly states," and then the mayor punches him in the face. He apologizes, but Charlie says, "No, I deserve that." At night, Crow is still practicing. His wife tells him to come inside. He says, "No, I want to arrest that scam artist." They take the argument inside. She says it's not Charlie's fault. He says, "Stop taking his side." She says, "I'm not taking sides, I'm just stating the facts." And, this kind of jealousy only leads to self-fulfilling prophecy. You've been an ass since you got cut from the team. You can't blame me for wanting to be around someone who treats me like I'm actually there. Judge Dad goes down by the lake to watch some kids play hockey. He sees this one fuck-up kid and gives him a few pointers. Then all of a sudden, Bobby's playing like he's in a Frosted Flake commercial. But it turns out the judge has another reason for being there. The kid's coach is the small town lawyer. The judge tells him the town is taking the Rangers and the players' union to court. It might help if their lawyer knew something about a certain section of third-party contract law. Wink, wink. The mayor's wife makes an attempt at reconciliation. He sits there quietly, embarrassed by his accent. She gives that old excuse that "you haven't fucked me in years, so I thought it would be okay." At the trial, the players' union guy says, "You're free to schedule exhibition games pre-season." The small town lawyer says, "We've already spent a bunch of money." The judge says, "You're free to sue the league for restitution." The small town lawyer says, "But what about our reputation?" The players' union guy asks, "What are you talking about? Your town has a great reputation. You're the only city in history to keep Walmart out by force." The small town lawyer says, "We don't want a violent reputation. We're a hockey town. Everything in Mystery exists to service high school and college dropouts playing non-professional pickup games of ice hockey. It's in our blood. It's our heart." And then he has cardiac arrest and dies. The entire town turns out for the funeral. They tell stories about him and how he fought for this town, how he loved hockey, how he died doing something he believed in, giving this town the chance to play the game of its life. Letting the game go on is the only way to honor him. That night, the judge goes out there and pours some cheap whiskey over the grave. Beebe walks up to him and says, "You sent him to New York. You knew this might happen." The judge doesn't deny it. Beebe says, "But you didn't count on him winning. So we're in deep shit now. We're down a player and I can't play and coach." The judge says, Fine, I'll do it. But only if you're the captain." Then 70 minutes into a sports movie, and we get our first montage. The mayor and his wife are trying to pick which celebrity should sing the national anthem when Skank shows up. He wants to talk to the mayor. He tries to apologize. He says he wants back in the game and promises to play better than ever. Not only that, he'll remember to vote and vote for him from now on. Now that 90% of the subplots are wrapping up, the Rangers arrive. Detective Disher shows up. He tells the sheriff that Charlie got drunk and made off with a city vehicle. Beebe goes to arrest him because no hockey movie is complete without playing "I Want to Ride the Zamboni." Charlie is Carl Carlson when he's drunk. He says, "This town hated me when I lived here and it hates me even more now." Beep says, "Well, it's sort of like this. If we win, you'll finally have all the respect you think you deserve. But if we lose, you'll have destroyed everything this town believes in. Ever think about that?" Then we take a few moments to allow Russell Crowe's romance subplot to resolve itself. And then at last, it's game day. The mayor makes a secret deal with Little Richard to make the Rangers freeze their asses off in a really long national anthem before the game begins. Look, normally I review the whole movie or at least the important parts, but here I don't want to spoil it. Most of the funniest parts of the film happen in the last 40 minutes. So instead, I want to talk about why I generally don't like sports movies.
Because you're a complete unathletic dork?
No. Because they don't have a superhero in them? No.
Is it because they are overly formulaic with only 3 real variations?
Yeah. Can you name them?
Ooh, probably. Underdog guy or team likes a sport, only they suck at it. They practice really hard and win when they should have zero chance.
Uh-huh. You've got your Rockies 2, 3, and 4, Major League, and the Mighty Ducks. You have a guy or team who are into a sport. They are terrible. They practice and get better. They make it to the big event and fail, becoming a huge disgrace to everyone. Uh-huh. The original Rocky, the Bad News Bears, and of course, Cool Runnings.
And then there are movies where sport is a huge part of the plot, but the movie isn't really about sports.
Which tend to work a little better for me, since they're quite varied. They range from Thor Ragnarok to The Big Lebowski.
Thor Ragnarok is a sports movie?
Gladiatorial combat is one of the oldest sports known to man. Look, it's been more than 30 years since I've played street hockey, so I'm not the best person to summarize this last act. Plus, in this case, knowing the ending would ruin the viewing experience, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to get right to the verdict. Yes! Okay, rant wrap time. Mystery Alaska is not the first kind of sports movie. It's sort of the third one, but only if you squint. The game and its outcome are important to the story. It's sort of the second kind, but not really. It's almost like director Jay Roach and screenwriters David E. Kelly and Sean O'Byrne watched every sports movie ever made and said, let's make a movie like those other movies, but completely unlike those other movies at the same time. The other great thing about this movie is how understated the comedy is. Well, understated considering it's directed by the same guy who did the Austin Powers movies and Meet the Fockers. The only scenes that have his usual sort of zany comedy are the ones with the sportscaster played by Mike Myers.
Grr.
What's the matter, Xylo?
I really thought with calm meaning in this movie, you'd fail.
You want me to fail?
Kinda. Granting wishes isn't easy, you know.
Well, you can always get me next time. So, if I can make it through Mystery Alaska without referencing you know what, then I can do anything.
Jess, our next episode is Galaxy Quest.
Ah, If you liked this video, please hit like and subscribe. To see this channel grow and get your name on the credits, visit patreon.com/ParityErrorFilms and become a patron today. Give us enough money and just might let you have a say in some of the movies we watch in the 2022-23 season. I'm glad Xilo was willing to give me a lift up to the editing suite. Time to get to work. Okay, Donatello. Update on the time travel problem. It's proving a tough nut to crack. I've managed to get a primitive machine capable of 3-minute jumps in either direction, but I get the feeling that's not what you need. Is there anything you can do? Maybe. The house is built on an interdimensional nexus point. Well, that explains a lot. You have no idea. Anyone who spends a prolonged period of time there is bound to be caught up in a confluence of improbable, if not impossible, events. So I'd need a lot of time to even figure out what I can do. You have 5 episodes? Not possible. Unless what? There is an informal think tank I joined a while back. Call them in. You sure? Because mixing time travel and multi-dimensional energies at an IDNP is a recipe for just get it done. Disaster.